What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Tenpai Dragon deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is one of the most powerful decks to play this format because it's so easy to OTK your opponent with this deck. I even have combos on the channel for this deck for you guys that you should definitely check out after this video. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name description every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Pydra. Pydra is definitely a 3-of in the build, one of the most powerful 1-card combos in the deck. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually add to your hand or set a Sangan spell trap directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is an amazing effect to add your copy of Kaiman from your deck to your hand off this card's effect, so we can go through our combo and OTK our opponent. This card also can quick synchro during your battle phase into a Fire Dragon monster, which is an amazing ability, and also has the ability to take no battle damage from battles involving your Fire Dragon monsters. I love that about this card, and it's just really cool that during the battle phase you can quick synchro to keep climbing into awesome boss monsters to OTK. We then play 3 copies of Chundra. Chundra is definitely a 3-of as well, and just so powerful in this deck because if you control a Fire Dragon, you can special summon this card in the hand, and also at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can actually special summon a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster from your deck to your side of the field, which is great to be able to summon out your copy of Phaedra so that you can go in for the OTK. We then play 2 copies of the new Genryoku. This card is really good as a 2-of in the build, and I love this card in the deck. It's so cool because if this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, you can actually special summon this card as a tuner, then increase its level by 1. Also, quick effect, you can tribute this card to be able to special summon a Tenpai Dragon monster from the deck except another copy of Genryoku. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except dragons, which is totally fine because that's usually all we're summoning. But this card is amazing in the deck and just helps us get through our combos and makes the deck so much more consistent and helps out a lot in this build. We then play a single copy of Phaedra. Phaedra helps out a lot in the deck as a 1-of, but you only need a single copy of this card now because the deck is so consistent. But this card is really, if this card is normal or special summon, or at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can actually target a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And also this card can quick synchro, which is amazing. This card also has the ability that your Fire Dragon monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, which is a really cool effect to be able to go into the battle phase and know your monsters are not going to get destroyed. We then play a single copy of Dora Dora. Dora Dora is really good just as a 1-of in the build because this card is the ability, if this card is normal summon, you can add a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, meaning we can actually search out our copy of Genryoku directly from our deck to our hand, which is going to help us out a lot because then we can use Genroku's ability. This card also has the ability once per turn during the main phase, you can excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a Fire Dragon monster, send to the graveyard, and if you do, this card gains a 1,000 attack for each Dora Dora that you control, which is a pretty cool effect to be able to use just to help you get another card in the grave. We then play a single copy of Bestial Magnemite. Magnemite's just really good overall in the deck because this card has the ability, just like all of the Bestial monsters that are level 6, that you can target a light or dark monster in the grave and then banish it, and if you do special summon this card in your hand, it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster, and if this card is special summon, you can activate this effect that during the end phase of this turn, add a dragon monster from your deck or grave to the hand, basically setting you up for an OTK on the follow-up turn, which is amazing. Plus, it's really good to be able to banish a light or dark out of your opponent's graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's amazing in this deck, basically just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is just really good at stopping your opponent from touching the deck for the rest of the turn. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is amazing in the deck because this deck has one of the most powerful field spells ever created in the form of Sangan Summoning. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is really good in this deck as a 2-of because this card is going to help you draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it and shovel in the deck, which is basically just going to stop your opponent from hand trapping you any further or giving you the knowledge of what your opponent's playing so that we can play around it. We then played 2 copies of Lightning Storm. Since this is an OTK deck, we need a lot of going second cards, and this card is really good in the deck because it basically destroys all the attack with your monster your opponent controls or destroys all of your opponent's spells and trap cards, which is really cool, but you have to control no cards to activate this card. But usually with this deck, the game is over within 1 to 2 turns, basically being your opponent's first turn and our turn because we're going to OTK, or basically just setting up and then letting our opponent go, and then we're going to OTK on the follow-up on the 3rd turn. But this card is just really good to basically go second because we always want to go second with this deck. We then played 3 copies of Raigeki. Again, this card is awesome to help you OTK because it's just going to destroy all your opponent's monsters. It's simple, it's easy, and it's effective to basically just deal with your opponent's cards so we can go in for that OTK. We then played 3 copies of Sangan Kaiman. This card is really good as a 3-of. This card is almost like E-Telly for the deck that you can apply one of these effects, or if you activate this card during the battle phase, you can actually apply both of them in sequence to add a level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, and then special summon a Fire Dragon monster from your hand, which is amazing to be able to search this card off your copy of Pydra, and then use your copy of your use this card to be able to summon out your copy of Chundra, and then go in for the OTK, which is amazing. We then play 3 copies of Sangan Summoning. Sangan Summoning is so powerful as a 3-of in this build, and is just an amazing field spell. This card has the ability during the main phase 1, Fire Dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, basically being a Miscellaneousaurus in the form of a field spell. This card also has the ability that during your main phase, you can add a Tenpai Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, then discard a card, also being a Rhoda. This card also has the ability, if this card is destroyed during the battle phase, you can actually target a Dragon Synchro monster you control and double its attack, which is going to double the attack of your copy of your Trident Dragon, which is going to help you go in for an OTK with a 6,000 attack point boss monster that can attack 3 times. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is amazing because we can actually OTK through this card, and we don't need everything in the extract. Usually we just need about 3 to 4 cards in the extract to be able to OTK. So this card is really good to help us dig into the deck for our 1-card combos. We then also play 3 copies of Droplet. Droplet's really good in this deck overall to basically just turn your opponent's field off and half the attack points of your opponent's monsters so we can go in for game. You could change this out for any other hand trap, but I really like Droplet in this deck because this deck has so many 1-card combos that you can basically just get rid of a bunch of cards in your hand, turn your opponent's field off, and go in for the OTK. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good at stopping your opponent's monster effects and also locking down entire columns of spells and traps. Plus this card doesn't play into talents or thrust, which is why I love this card in the deck, because it's so easy and effective to be able to use in the deck to basically stop your opponent's monster effects. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of the Transcendent Dragon. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck, as this card is how we usually OTK. This card has the ability all monsters that your opponent control must attack. If able, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect during the battle phase, and if this card is synchro summoned, you can actually change all monsters on the field to attack position, and if 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card in the grave, then destroy 1 card on the field, which is a great ability just to be able to pop a card on the field, and just be able to special summon this card back in the graveyard so it can attack once, quick synchro, and then basically attack again, which is so cool. We then play 2 copies of Bident. Bident is really good to be able to play in the deck, and the first synchro monster we're going to summon out from the extract. And if this card is synchro, someone can actually target a fire dragon monster in the graveyard and special summon it back to your side of the field. So you can use the dragon you summon back to quick synchro into your Transcendent. And this card also has the ability that locks you into dragon monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because we're pretty much OTKing at that point. This card has the ability of 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn. You can actually special summon this card back from the graveyard, which is a quick effect. And then you can destroy a spell or trap on the field, which is a great ability. You can play a single copy of Trident Dragon. This card is so powerful, and actually how we OTK through a copy of Prosperity, because this card can basically do 18,000 damage on its own. This card is really must be synchro summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, and when this card is synchro summoned, you can actually target 2 other cards that you control, destroy those targets, and if you do, for each destroyed by this effect, it gains 1 additional attack, so it's going to be able to attack 3 times. If you pop the field spell, you double its attack to 6,000, and you swing 3 times with this card for 18,000, which is how we OTK through Prosperity. We then play a single copy of Ready Rose Dragon. This is just a good option if you need to banish cards from the graveyard. As if this card is synchro summoned, you can banish all cards from the graveyard. Then, if this card was synchro summoned using a Black Rose Dragon, you can actually destroy all the cards on the field as well, which is a pretty cool effect just to help you board wipe. Speaking of board wipes, we also play a single copy of Black Rose. Black Rose is just a good option that you can make just in case you need to board wipe the field. 1 copy of Moonlight Rose Dragon. Moonlight is just a good option as well because it does bounce basically level 5 or higher off the field. 1 copy of the Blade Dragon. Again, just another option. You really only need these 4. These are just good options that you can make in the deck. They do have some utility in the extract, but again, to OTK, you're usually just using these 4. We then play a single copy of the Samurai Destroyer. Samurai Destroyer is really good. This card is actually amazing in the deck as an option. This card has the ability, if this card battles an opponent's monster, opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Also, that opponent's monster's effects are negated during the battle phase only, which is a great ability to be able to use, especially if you're a monster that has basically a battle effect like Makonko. You can basically just swing through it with this, which is really nice. Also, if this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can actually target a machine monster in the graveyard and special summon it, which doesn't really come up, but it's still really good to be able to play. You can play a single copy of Promethean Princess because we're playing a fire deck, and it's really good to be able to bring out to your side of the field. 1 copy of Hita so we can climb into it just in case we need to. 1 copy of SP Lil Knight, really good option. You don't have to play this if you don't want to. For a more budget option, you can play Nightmare Phoenix, but it's still really good to be able to play in the deck, so you use it as a double interruption. Play a single copy of Doolittle Chimera because 500 attack is pretty good, I've heard. So this card is really good at boosting your fire monsters up by 500 attack and defense points to help you OTK. We then play 2 copies of Hieratic Seal. Hieratic Seal is just nice to play overall because if you do get pushed to go first, you can make this card, which is really, really good because it balances cards off the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Tenpai Dragon before, you should definitely give this deck a try, and also check out the combos I have on the channel for this deck, which are super helpful for anybody who's trying to learn this deck. It has a lot of 1-card combos and shows you how to OTK with this deck extremely easily, and even OTK through a Prosperity. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.